choice. If they don't get a very, very good college, they might try to convert a very dream company. If they don't convert a dream company, they will try to convert a fantastic college. This is called hedging. Does it happen with you guys? If not, it will. By the time you enter third year, if you, and for those of you who are in third year, I'm sure this is the case. So as I said, why I wanted to speak about this is because there's a hedger inside each one of you. There's a trader inside each one of you who's managing things, managing placements, higher studies, education like that. But then there are some even more special people who will work like this. They would like to do masters in engineering, so they write GRE. They would like to do masters in business administration, so they will write CAT and GMAT. They will sit for code placements. They will sit for non-code placements, and back in the hostel room or at home or with their friends, they also want to start their startup. I'm sure some of you will relate with it. In fact, most of you will relate. Guys, guess what this is called? This is called hedging the hedge. The terminology doesn't exist in the world of finance. It's a very, very Indian education terminology. Takes birth every July, dies by February, stays dormant for 4-5 months, again takes birth in July when the next batch comes in. So for those of you who are confused, you are absolutely fine. We train your seniors, who graduated in 2021. We'll be training your seniors who will be graduating in 2022. And we are training to quite a few IITs and IT bits. And I personally have been the global head for my previous company, where I was managing 2 continents, Asia and Africa. And my role gave me a lot of interaction with the top students from the top countries. Practically 95% of them are confused. So if you are confused, don't worry, it's absolutely fine. You are actually in a very normal state of affairs, because that's how the state of affairs is. Now, while making this presentation, we had quite a lot of interaction with Khushi and Kshitij, and the fact that we have trained your seniors. So I have a sense about, the DNA that flows through IIT Bombay. The one thing that I did do is I didn't assume while making this presentation. I didn't assume that this is very silly or this is very super. I just said I'm going to say what I'm going to say without any kind of assumption. And why I didn't assume? Because when you assume, you make an ass out of you and me. So I didn't assume anything. So we will have a very, very interactive presentation, hopefully. And let's begin. 3 college students sit for a job interview. The question they all are asked is, what is 2 plus 2? College A student fills the whiteboard with a proof and says a unique solution exists. College B student does the calculation, graphs the results and says 3, but will make it 5 just to be safe. Now what will an IIT Bombay student say? Any guesses for this question? Don't write 4. Any guesses what an IIT Bombay will say? Brilliant. Okay. 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 An IIT Bombay student would close the door, pull the curtain, and ask how much do you want it to be. It can be given the way you want it. And that's the attitude that you guys should have, when you are facing your interview. It really doesn't matter whether you know, you don't know, you are confident, you're not confident, but you have to show it. It's like Chris Gayle. You ask Chris Gayle and you read his interview, he's not at a killing mode every time. But because he has an attitude, he fakes it. And when he fakes it, the bowler does a mistake. And that's all what he wants. I'll tell you about 4 frameworks in this session today. Some of them will look very, very normal, probably very silly to you. Some of them will look very, very amazing to you. But as I said, I don't want to assume anything. You need to sell the interviewer what he or she is buying. And to do that, you must find out what the interviewer is buying. And everything that is there in this presentation is by my experience when I'm interviewing at a Bombay or a Madras or a Delhi or a Kharagpur or a Kanpur. All these things are collected from there since 2009 and which is here. The first framework that you should have ready with you is playing 11. Now what exactly is playing 11? These 11 questions you should absolutely know. You should know the name of the company. You should know company's core business. Now this might sound very, very silly to you. But imagine this, if an Amazon comes and asks you what's our core business, if you say e-commerce, you will be shown the exit door right after that interview, right after that question. Because e-commerce is not the core business of Amazon. So you should know the name of the company. You should definitely know company's core business. Company's headquarters, Indian branches and location. Name of the CEO, your job role, your typical day at office, skill set needed to get the job, your career progression in the company. And to gather these information, you should connect with the company people on LinkedIn or speak with your colleagues. Now, typically what happens is, if I am sitting for an interview and I ask you, that can you tell me what exactly will you be doing in my company? For example, it's a programming role. You cannot just say, I'll be doing programming. I know it's a programming role, or it's a consulting role, or it's a trading role. You cannot just say I'll be trading, because if you're sitting in an office for 10 hours, you're not doing programming for 10 hours, you're not doing trading for 10 hours, you're not doing consulting for 10 hours. You are doing a multitude of things. And typically when I ask you, what's your role, what will you be doing in office, I want to know, do you have a sense of that multitude of things that you'll be doing? Or you are here just because you read the job description and you read the compensation and you came for the interview? So it's very important that you know a typical day at office. For example, in a programming company, you'll be programming probably for 4 to 5 hours a day. For 1.5 hours, 2 hours, you'll be working with the architecture of the program, speaking with the team, probably debugging, bugging, whatever it is. Half an hour, you'll be fighting with the C++ compiler for not allowing you to do what you're trying to do, or the Java compiler, whatever it is. Maybe another half an hour, you'll be meeting people, you'll be talking, you'll be understanding the team formation, what's the core product, what is the customer needs and everything. And that's how a typical day at office is spent when it comes to a programming company. Similarly, there'll be different ways by which a typical day is spent in different companies. Definitely have these playing 11 ready for you. Your career progression in the company, what happens after 3 years, 5 years, 10 years? Where will you go? No one knows, of course, but do you have a sense of it? For example, if you're in a finance company, do you have a sense that today when you join as a quant trader or an algo trader or a risk manager or a manual trader, where you will be in 3 years' time? Now you can say, I'll be the leader. What? Leader of what? Leader of operations, leader of HR, leader of finance, leader of risk, what? So you should exactly know the company's, your progression in the company. And the best way to do it is make an Excel for yourself. This is something that was told to your seniors and it worked magical for them. I think you should do it, wherein all the 11 questions are listed right here as they are listed, and you start making that Excel. On the day of the interview, spend 2 minutes on that Excel. And believe me, you'll be very, very confident during the interview. If you see in this Excel, the first sheet is for Excel, but then there are multiple sheets. For example, this is a data science playing 11 that you have prepared for yourself. You make it for different companies and you go about it. Your playing 11 is very, very important, because I am guessing, if I am not wrong, you will be having at least 2 to 3 questions from your playing 11 on the day of the interview. For sure, and they'll be coming straight from this Excel file. This has worked in the past, there's no reason why it will not work in the future. And one of the interesting one, for example, for people who are sitting for consult profile, especially, this can come. In fact, you can ask yourself, if your life is a newspaper, then what is the headline? They might ask you one big story about your life, one big story about your life in IIT Bombay, one big story about your life during COVID times. What were you doing? Now you might say, I was doing certification, or I was doing online internship. But is that the headline of your time in COVID? Is that the headline of your life at IIT Bombay? It could be managing the technical fest. It could be mood indigo, I don't know. But don't underestimate it. Even if it is mood indigo, let it be. Because probably that is the headline. You somehow hold it on something which is amazing. Definitely have it, especially for consult question. This is a recruiter's favorite question. If your life is a newspaper, then what is the headline? If your playing 11 is sorted, I am reasonably sure that 3 of those 20 questions that they will be asking on the day of the interview will be from playing 11. And we will have a small format for this presentation. Say if you are asked 20 questions, 3 are done from playing 11, 17 more to go. We'll be answering all your question and answers at the end of the session. Let me just finish, because I'm sure quite a lot will be covered during the presentation. So we'll be answering your question and answers at the end of the session. Now, a lot of time I am told, sir, how do I answer the question? Can you tell me how do I answer the question? The problem in telling you how to answer the question is we don't know what the question is. How do I train you for something which I don't know, or you don't? For example, if Indian team is going to England, so they know it's going to be a seaming condition, ball will swing, and they need to have a required preparation and they need to have the required team for that. Similarly, the one which went to Sri Lanka, they know the ball will spin over there, and they need to have a required preparation and a required team for it because they know the conditions pretty well. So the problem here is when you ask me how to give you the answers, it's not possible because no one knows what the questions are. But can we actually know the question? Can we actually define? Can we actually plant the question? Which is where the framework 2 is coming, which is called breadcrumbs. Now, I don't know how many of you have heard the story about Hansel and Gretel. So Hansel and Gretel were a brother and sister. It's a German folklore, folk tale. Hansel and Gretel were a brother and sister somewhere in a village in Germany. Their mother died. Father married another lady, who eventually became their stepmother. Both the stepmother and the real father did not like the kids at all. So on one of the nights, the stepmother planned that next day morning she will take Hansel and Gretel deep inside the forest, leave them there and come back so that they can get rid of the kids. Luckily, both Hansel and Gretel overheard the plan. So what they did, they packed breads in their bag, and next day as planned, stepmother took them towards the forest. Now, the bread that was packed in the bag became very brittle, and they crumbled it and they made it powder. And while the stepmother was taking them, Hansel and Gretel kept on throwing small little breadcrumbs on the road. So the idea was once the stepmother leaves them inside the forest, they will pick the trail back of the breadcrumb and come back to the village. But why am I telling you the story of Hansel and Gretel here? What I'm telling you is try to do a little bit of Hansel and Gretel in your interview. Try to leave breadcrumbs so that your recruiter picks up that breadcrumbs and then asks you the question that you want him or her to ask you. Let me give you a simple example. Next slide will be a very wordy slide. I'm very sorry about it, but I want you to have a very clear understanding of what a breadcrumb approach is all about. Chances are bright these questions will be asked. Tell me something about yourself. 95% of the interviewers will be asking you this question in one way or the other. So basically what I did here is I prepared a sample answer. I'm not telling you this should be your answer, but this is just to tell you the approach of breadcrumbs. Prepared a sample answer here. For example, there's an interviewer and there's a student. Student is called Rakesh. Now Rakesh is asked, tell me something about yourself. This is what Rakesh answers. My name is Rakesh. I'm from Nagpur. And at college, I'm pursuing civil with minor in economics. I love sports, especially tennis. I also love working with numbers, such that my friends sometimes call me Digit. Coming from a small town, I always want to try new things. I got the opportunity in the college where with my studies, I also participated in many activities and became member of clubs. Analytics Club is one of those clubs which got me into data science, AI and ML. I love the work so much that I ended up doing one project, two certifications and one internship in data science. Not only did I perform very well in the internship, and I also won appreciation, but it is in this internship where I understood the scope and extent of data science. If you see, the breadcrumbs started falling, in fact, from Analytics Club 1 only. He just directed the entire question towards analytics, then towards data science, and then towards the internship. And if the breadcrumbs are strong enough, chances are bright interviewer's next question would be, tell me something about your internship experience, exactly what Rakesh wanted the interviewer to ask. This is the breadcrumbs approach. The last 3-4 lines of the previous question answers should have so much of breadcrumbs in it that the interviewer can see it, smell it, fix it, and ask you the exact question that you want him or her to ask you. Now, it's a presentation slide in which I could make it very easy. Is it happening in real life? Is it possible in real life? No. If you try to do it on 10 different questions, it won't work in 10. And that's not the idea. You cannot have breadcrumbs in 10 questions. You should have breadcrumbs on only 4 to 5 questions, and it works wonders. Ask your seniors who had the same approach. We did it last time and it worked wonders because they told us that not only did they perform well in the interview, but it felt like that they were controlling the interview, they were controlling the interview's mind in one way or the other. Now, how do you make your breadcrumbs approach? How do you apply breadcrumbs in your interview? Identify 4 to 5 questions that have high probability to figure in your interview. For example, one of the questions could be, tell me something about yourself. Or if you're choosing a particular industry, be it data science, consulting, finance, operations, software programming, product development, why product development, why data science? That could be one of the questions. If your CPI is low, that could be one of the questions. If you have done a very interesting project or an internship, that could be one of the questions. Identify the 4 to 5 questions that have high probability to figure in your interview. If you have identified them, prepare the answers of these questions using breadcrumbs approach. And when I say prepare, write it down. Don't have a mental answers. It never works. What stays in your mind always stays in your mind. It never comes out on the day of the interview under that extreme pressure. So make it a habit of writing these answers. Prepare the answers of these questions using breadcrumbs approach. Give the interview to a stranger or a senior, applying breadcrumbs approach, and make sure that stranger and senior doesn't know breadcrumbs. Don't give it to a friend who's also part of this session, because he or she will know that you are doing breadcrumbs, and being a true friend will try to jack your happiness. But try to give it to a stranger or senior. If it doesn't work, don't give up on this framework. Maybe your answers were not right. Maybe your breadcrumbs were not compulsive or were not strong enough for the interviewer to pick. So go back to the drawing board, rework on your answers. 4 to 5 of your questions of your interview will be sorted by this, just because you mastered the art of breadcrumbs. Try to do this exercise. Identify these questions, write the answers, make a stranger or a senior sit next to you, give them an interview, put breadcrumbs and enjoy. See if they are picking. If they are picking, you'll have a smile which probably is not visible on your face, yet the smile is there, and that will help you get past the interview. Now, some of you might think that it works only in the PPT, not in the real life. You are right. Some of you will think that it might also work and will practice. You are also right. So the thing is, art of war says, when I'm going for war, I will take anything with me that can hurt and kill. And when I say anything, I mean anything. This is one of the frameworks which is proven, and it is working wonders. So those who practice will be able to probably reap the fruit out of this framework. I'll give you one interesting experience that happened with me actually in your college. I was there, I think it was around 2016 or 17, I'm not too sure. And one of the guys wrote me in the SOP that he's All India third in speed maths. Now there are 2 problems with that. First, there is no national competition as far as speed maths is concerned. And second, my maths is 5. So, and unfortunately he met me. So when he came in, it was a 20 minutes interview. But the first 18 minutes were on speed maths. Last 2 minutes when he was apologizing for writing a lie in the SOP. Of course, he was not All India third in speed math. In fact, the preparation said he is All India not 3000 also in speed maths. What I'm trying to tell you here is, now this is something that was asked to me by a lot of people, that for the sake of getting the interview call, can we write a lie in a resume? The straight answer to that is no. In fact, you cannot write a lie anywhere in your life. But coming back to the interview, they say that I'll be able to impress in the interview, but just to get shortlisted, can I write a lie? The problem that happens is that if the lie gets caught, it becomes a serious compliance issue. And you ask any recruiter of the world that on what basis do you reject instantly? It's not talent, it's not communication, it is compliance. You ask any recruiter of the world what are the top 3 parameters to select people, the first one will be compliance for sure. Because if you're not compliant, even if you're James Bond or Superwoman, I don't want you in my company. Because non-compliant is a serious issue globally. So if you get caught, what happens is not only do you bury your chance in that company, behind the doors, all the recruiters who are coming, for example, you understand that day 1, 20 companies are coming, day 2, 25 companies are coming. So we have a closed circuit also. A lot of recruiters are there on the same WhatsApp group, and we keep on chit-chatting what's happening at Bombay, what's happening in Madras, here and there. When we get a non-compliant candidate, someone somewhere will write, I met this person in this college, and for me, it's a serious case of compliance. Suddenly, the name gets broadcasted to 100 other companies. And you'll know and you'll find that the off-campus application that you are sending is getting rejected and you have no clue what's happening. The clue is that the company probably knows about the non-compliant issue that happened with you. So don't do a mistake of writing something which you cannot stand tall in an interview. Don't lie. Be there who you are. You have to be accepted the way you are. If not, there's a next company, there's a better day, there's a better company that will come. Be ready with your why. In any of the interviews that you face, be ready with your why. Why data science? Why Amazon? Why not higher studies? Why you? Things like that. For example, a very simple question could be that do you plan to go for higher studies? Now, the thing about this question is that if you say yes, you might not get the job or internship. If you plan to go for higher studies, as I said, you have to be very, very compliant. And if you say, you cannot say no because you cannot lie. So what do you do exactly? A lot of time I would suggest you to apply simple logic and common sense in giving answers to questions like this, because these don't have a right answer or a wrong answer. If you ask me, if you are the interviewer and I'm a student and you ask me, are you planning to go for higher studies? My answer will be very simple, that I will go for higher studies for two reasons. A, if I don't get a jump in my career. B, if I don't get a jump in my compensation. If I'm getting both in your company, there is no reason why I should go for higher studies. But at any point of time, if I see that a jump in career or a jump in compensation will happen only if I have a master's degree, there is no reason I will stop also. So if you see, you made your answer a very situational answer, and that situation is in the hands of the recruiter. Whether you will go for higher studies or not will be defined by the recruiter. If your career looks plateaued, you will go for higher studies. If your career is an upscaling curve, you will not go for higher studies. Try to apply logic and common sense in questions like these, where there is no straight answer, there is no right or wrong answer. This will help you. On a good day, you will be able to plant 3 to 4 questions about breadcrumbs, and exactly that is what our goal should be, that you will be able to plant 3 to 4 questions of breadcrumbs in your interviewer's mind. With that, 6 are done and 14 more to go. I've told you about 2 tricks, framework so far. One is playing 11 and second one is breadcrumbs. Some tips: if you don't know the answer, it's okay to say no, you don't. I think some of you also wrote this question to the college, that what do you do if you don't know the answer? See guys, on a good day, you'll be able to give 75-80% right answers. And that's what a recruiter expects. If you give 100% right answers, probably you're an encyclopedia. You know everything, you're very bookish, you're very theoretical. I don't know if you know about it, a lot of companies also have an upper cutoff. They have a lower cutoff. For example, if there's a question paper of 50 marks and say 20 is the cutoff, anybody below 20 doesn't get shortlisted. There's also an upper cutoff. Anybody above 45 also doesn't get shortlisted. Because the moment you have an upper cutoff, it looks like you are very bookish. On a very, very good day, you will be able to answer 70-75% of the interview question, and that's enough for you to get the job or to crack the interview. So sometimes it's absolutely fine to say no, you don't know the answer, rather than manufacturing a silly answer and taking your own grade. So don't do that. Be well prepared with your resume. I'll be coming to this point at a later stage. In an interview, never talk for more than one straight. So there's very interesting concept. It's called the silent treatment, in which what happens is the interviewer asks you a question and then you are giving the answer, and the interviewer is mum, he's silent, he or she is silent, he or she is not saying a word. Your answer is over. But you tend to fill up the vacuum, you tend to fill up the silent by adding more and more statements to the already completed answers. And that is where you give the interviewer the next question, where he can completely bowl you over. So it's absolutely fine. Once your question is over, maintain a zen silence and wait for the next question to come to your way. You are tackling the silent treatment in a very, very silent manner. Exactly the treatment that should be given to the silent treatment. Third framework is a 10-10, one of my favorite frameworks. You should be ready with these 10 questions. They are definitely coming. And at Cantilever Labs, we are very, very close to sports. So we try to connect everything with sports. So these are the 10 things that you should be knowing. Tell me something about yourself is coming. Be ready with that answer. Now, a lot of time people ask me, sir, what should we say? Tell me something about yourself. You should make the answer not very technical by nature. Even if you have done very, very technical projects or certifications or internships or research publication, don't make that answer very, very technical by nature. Keep it a little technical, a little personal, and a little informal. You don't have to have a very formal answer. You can speak about your family, just like the breadcrumbs answer I gave. Rakesh spoke about that he came from Nagpur, a small town. His friends called him Digit. Then he got introduced to clubs, and then he built his answer. That is when he got into analytics club, and then he entered his internship, and then he spoke about data science. So you can keep it a little informal. You can talk about a little bit about your interest, a little about your life at college. Don't crib about the fact that because of COVID, you're not being able to go to the college. The whole earth is not going to the college. The interviewer is also not going to the office because of COVID. So don't crib about it. Have a very, very positive frame of mind. That is what you can say about tell me something about yourself. A very interesting spin-off question for tell me something about yourself is, tell me something about yourself. Make sure not a word of what you tell me is on your resume. It's like you have to say everything about yourself which is not there on your resume. So you cannot start with your name because it's there on your resume. You cannot start with your college and degree because it's there in your resume. So you talk about everything else which is not there on your resume. Why I'm telling you this now is, it's better to know that question now than to discover that question on the day of the interview and be completely stumped about it. Why do you want to join core or non-core industry? A lot of time when people are sitting for non-core industry, they give answers like this. Why do you want to join non-core? Non-core because they are not interested in core. Now it is like, I love cricket because I hate football.